All right. Hello and welcome everyone to this live stream where we're going to be talking about Prompter. Now, this stream is a little bit different than what we've done in the past. You'll see I'm on a different layout, different set, and it's just me this time. And we're just going to be talking about Prompter and going over a few different things. We're going to be talking, well, first, an unboxing of Prompter, then a hardware overview of all the different types and bits and bobs. Since we've released Prompter, we've gotten a ton of questions, so I'm going to answer a couple of those here today. Then compatibility with different cameras. I've got a variety of different cameras, including some DSLRs here to chat about. And then we'll talk about actually setting up Prompter, again, with all the different cameras, as well as just mounting it. And then lastly, a bit of a software overview of how to use Prompter in Camera Hub and the different modes that it comes with. So with that being said, let's dive right into the unboxing. And I hope you can hear me loud and clear and you can see well as well. First up, when you get Prompter, well, you're going to get it in this nice box here with all of the details right on it. On the side, you'll see everything that comes with Prompter and all the details. Let's dive right in. I've already pre-cut it. We don't want to do that live here on the camera. And the first thing you'll get greeted by is I'll flip that over this way so you can see it, is the cable box and the accessories box. So this box contains all the cables, accessories, or rather I should say just cable, accessories like the ring adapter and the back plates that you'll need, and we'll touch that in just a little bit, so I'm going to set it off to the side. The real star of the show is right below that though, and that's going to be Prompter itself. So I'm going to pull that up here. Whoop. And move that over. The first part that you're going to see is the L bracket backplate, which again I'll cover in a little bit, and then the Prompter itself. And the Prompter comes pre-assembled with both the display and the glass attached together. So we'll actually start there as I set this off to the side. So Prompter comes in this actually really nice little bag that has some recyclable material that, again, you don't have to throw it away. You can actually recycle it. That goes towards our initiative around being eco-friendly and making sure that pretty much at this point all of our products come with eco-friendly packaging and even little protective covers like this one. So once you get the Prompter, you can just pull it out of here. And this also makes sure that the screen and the beam splitting glass stays nice and protected and clean during shipping. Move that off to the side. And there you go. This is Prompter right here. So as you can see, the display comes attached to Prompter, and this is all one unit here. And there's also the Facecam Pro backplate already attached on the back, which I'll cover in just a little bit while I unbox the rest of the stuff. So I'm going to set this off to the side. And then there's the L bracket. So this is the L bracket here. Again, it comes with this nice little cover on there that, again, you can recycle. And this is the L bracket. So we call it an L bracket because, well, it's shaped in like an L. It's a little 90 degrees. And there's something that you'll want to pay attention to when you unbox it. You can see here that there's a sticker that says mount camera here. And that's where you want to mount the camera. There's going to be two screws that come with it. One is actually the screw that goes into the Prompter, and then the other is the screw that goes into the camera. Both of these are 1/4 inch. Everything is actually standardized by using 1/4 inch on here, so everything is universally compatible. Now let's dig into some of the other accessories that came in the Get Connected box. So, Get Connected. We'll open this up here. You'll be greeted by the quick start guide. This quick start guide, if you want to read through it, it's been put together by our team. It's lovely. It goes in all the details of connecting the different backplates, connecting Prompter up for the first time, and all of that. You can also, of course, find that information online. We also have setup videos and other information as well. So I'll set that off to the side. And then we have USB cables, the back plates, and the step-up rings. So we'll start with the USB cable here. Pull that out of the box. There we go. The USB cable, and we actually recently got a little bit of buzz about this, but the USB cable, it's a USB 3.0 Type A to Type C cable. So this will plug into any regular Type A port, and then you plug the back into Prompter. Now, what's really nice about this cable is that it actually features a 90-degree connector on the Type-C end, because if you've got prompter set up and it's set up on your desk, it's mounted, you've got the camera, you don't want the cable just going out of the back. And so the cable here has this little 90-degree bend in it, as you can see there. And so this part goes in the prompter, and then the cable just kind of flows off the back like so. I'll set that off to the side. And this is, I believe, in terms of the length, I believe this is 2 meters, so it's quite long. And then there's the universal shroud backplate and the DSLR mirrorless backplate, or the ring backplate. And these are quite significant, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail, but essentially you get these combined together. And then the other thing that comes with this is actually an Elgato cleaning cloth. Of course, as you're using prompter and as you're handling it, we suggest not touching the display, not touching the glass. You don't want to get your fingerprints all over it. If you do, though, we have this really nice cleaning, this really nice microfiber cloth that comes with it. It's got that little bit of Elgato branding in there. And yeah, this one is, unlike the Apple cloth, is not firmware updatable. That's a joke. The Apple one also isn't updatable. But yeah, so this comes with that as well, together with the ring back plate, as you can see here, and then the universal shroud. And this one actually comes with the bit of cloth that covers or this is the shroud part, which again, I'll go over in a little bit. And then the last part are the 9 included step-up rings. So these step-up rings are what you'll need if you're going to be using a DSLR or mirrorless camera using a lens. And our team spent a lot of time thinking about, the most common lens sizes out there. And so each of these different rings, they go from, let's see, it's down from 49 millimeter up to 77, and I believe even larger, up to 90, let's see here, 77, 82 millimeter. They're all labeled really nicely. It says right on there what size lens they attach to. And these will ensure that pretty much no matter what lens you use, you can attach prompter to your camera. And these screw on right in the front of the lens, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. But these all come neatly packed together. You'll just use the one that, fits to your lens. Just make sure that if you are picking up prompter and you do have a camera with the lens, that it does work. So those are all the pieces that come with prompter. Again, I'll put them all here. I'll put them all together again. So you've got the step-up rings, you've got the USB cable, you've got the L bracket, you've got all the different the universal backplate as well as the ring backplate. Then you've got the prompter itself, and this actually has the Facecam Pro backplate on it already. So what does that actually mean? Well, the Facecam Pro backplate is specifically built for Facecam Pro. So if you've got one, you can simply insert Facecam Pro, and I'll show that in a little bit. So how does mounting prompter actually work? Well, we'll get into that right now. Mounting a camera to prompter and kind of camera compatibility. So how does that actually work? Well, every camera besides a DSLR is going to be mounted to the L bracket. The L bracket supports the cameras that are attached to prompter. So in this case, the L bracket is mounted onto the rear of prompter, like so. It just goes on there, and then the camera goes on there as well, and then it's all tightened together. So why don't we do that? Why don't we actually attach Facecam Pro in this case, because that backplate is already on there. I'll move this all over to the side. Give myself a little bit of room. And I've got a handy dandy Facecam Pro as well. So the first thing you'll want to do when you have a Facecam Pro is actually take off the monitor mount for it that comes attached. You can just unscrew it from the back, like so. And then you can set this off to the side. Of course, you might want to keep this in case you want to use your Facecam Pro with your monitor again at some point. And then you'll want to attach the Facecam Pro to the L bracket, or to the back plate. Now, you'll need to also take off the sticker that's on it, that's on here, that says where to mount your camera. You can just kind of peel that off. I don't know if you heard that, but it's a really satisfying sound. And also the sticker will not break. Then you simply, on the L bracket, you can flip it over and then attach the screw to the bottom of Facecam Pro. And actually, I'm going to do it this way. like that. There we go. And then the last bit here is attaching the L bracket actually to prompter. And so there's some there's some guides there that you can see, and you can kind of simply slide it into place, make sure it's in there properly, and then take the screw and fasten it into place. Now you don't want to fasten it all the way. Let me actually move this over a little bit. You don't want to fasten it all the way because if you do, you won't be able to adjust the camera up and down because we're actually not done yet. What you want to do is you want to make sure that the camera is loose enough so that you can actually move it into position. So if I hold it up here sideways so you can get a better angle, I can actually move Facecam Pro into position like so. And once it's fully in and once it's fully slotted, now you want to go ahead and tighten the L bracket and tighten the camera in. So I can do that just at the bottom here. Oh, actually, I didn't move that screw in far enough. There we go. Like so. And then tighten the Facecam Pro. And there we go. This setup is now complete. I've now got a fully set up prompter that I, at this point, just need to mount onto something like a tripod or maybe a master mount or a mic arm low profile, and then I can mount it onto my desk and then just connect on all the cables. So that's kind of what that looks like. You do want to keep in mind that when you're mounting this, that there is a bit of a distance between, you went from using basically a Facecam Pro this small to, something that's a little bit wider, but we'll cover that in a little bit as well. So that's Facecam Pro, and that's the Facecam Pro backplate. So how do the other backplates work? Well, that's also very simple. Let me take this off here. I'm going to take off Facecam Pro from prompter. And the backplates on the prompter are actually also removable. You'll see there's 2 screws on the back here at the top. So let's say I am using a different webcam in this case, where I'm going to show the Facecam, but of course, prompter also works with many other webcams out there, such as from Logitech, Razer, many other manufacturers. Then you can use the universal shroud backplate. So how does that work? So taking these 2 screws, I can simply unscrew these and lift out the back plate like so. Now I'll take the universal shroud back plate, which I had set off to the side here, and I've got to unfurl that bit of cloth there. There we go. And then it actually has some guides that you can use at the bottom to just kind of set that in there, and then it falls into place. If I don't get the cloth in the way, it can be a little bit fiddly. There we go. Now you'll want to move the cloth over to the other side, like so, and then take the screws and screw those in again. And this provides just a large opening that practically any webcam can look through. And then take those screws and screw them back in. Now this also applies for other cameras such as all-in-ones, or maybe you're using an action camera such as a GoPro, or maybe like a handheld, like a hand cam. Those will all work with the universal backplate. So now that I've got that attached here, I'm actually just going to leave prompter down. I'm going to move it over here. Now I'm going to take the Facecam. Facecam again, remove the piece at the bottom. Let's see. I'm actually going to. It can be a little bit fiddly to get that out. There we go. So I'm going to remove the monitor mount. Again, you'll want to keep that. Don't throw it away, just in case you want to mount Facecam onto a monitor at some point. And then you'll want to mount it onto the L bracket. Now keep in mind at this point you've removed the sticker, but you'll want to make sure that it's connected to the correct side. We have seen some cases where, and that's why we include the sticker, where the part where the camera is mounted is actually attached to the prompter. You don't want to do that. It won't fit correctly, and you'll probably be able to tell. So just take your Facecam or take your camera with the 1/4" threading and connect the screw like so. There we go. Now what you can do is you can also, again, tighten it a little bit, but you don't want to do it all the way because you'll want to actually slide it around a little bit to make sure that or as much forward as possible to make sure that none of the frame is caught and that the camera is properly mounted. So once you've got your camera on the L bracket, you can then attach it to prompter by simply inserting it like so, making sure the screw goes in there. And then you might need to do some height adjustments here. You know, not every camera is the same, not every camera is the same height, and you'll want to make sure that the camera, again, is as far forward as possible, right? You want to make sure that it is not catching any of the frame of the universal shroud. And then at that point, just tighten it. And the last bit is actually, well, connecting the cable to your camera, or maybe it's connected, and then just moving the shroud over the camera. And that'll block all the light, right? So you want to make sure that it's completely wrapped around like that, and then all the light will be blocked, and there you go. Now you can mount prompter onto your mount. It might be a multi-mount, it might be a tripod, it might be a Elgato mic arm LP, which I'll show in a little bit as well. But you are ready to mount your prompter. Now, there's one more backplate that's included, and that is the ring backplate for DSLR cameras. So I'm going to take this off here, and then once I mount the camera, then we're also going to take some questions as well. I'm going to take this off, and I'm also going to take off set this off to the side. I'm also going to take off the universal shroud backplate and replace it with a ring backplate. Now, both of these camera types, basically webcams and Facecam Pro, have used the L bracket. When mounting a DSLR camera, you actually don't use the L bracket anymore. You mount it directly onto the camera. So go ahead and, at this point, grab the ring adapter, the ring backplate, and you'll want to attach it just like we did with the Facecam Pro backplate or with the Universal Shroud backplate. You'll just want to attach it to prompter. So you can take it and just kind of guide it in, and then attach the screws again to tighten it, like so. And these screws also have little, what do you call these? Little valleys in them, so if you're using a flathead screwdriver, you can use that as well. So there you go. And then you'll want to set your prompter off to the side for a second, because at this point, you'll want to actually grab your camera, and you'll want to grab specifically your lens, because what's important is your lens by default at this point won't connect to prompter. And the way it works is you'll actually hang prompter off of the front of the lens, but for that to work, you need some of the ring adapters, or rather the one that fits to your camera. So in this case, we are going to grab one of them. And often what'll happen is either on the lens itself or on the lens cap, the actual size of the threading here will be written on that. You can just go by that. On this lens, I don't believe, actually it is 67 millimeters. So I'm just gonna go ahead and from the accessory kit that we have here with all of the lenses, lens adapters in it, I'm just going to grab, or the step-up rings we actually call them. I'm going to grab the 67 millimeter one, which seems to be this one right here. So I've got it here, and there's a bunch of others as well, again, for various different sizes. You want to make sure that you confirm that it actually comes with the size for the lens that you have, and then you can simply screw it on to the front of your lens and make sure it is nice and tight and correctly inserted. Let's see. Oh. There we go. So that is now connected. And at this point, what you would do is take your prompter and simply hang it off of the front of the camera. It kind of slides in there like so. And there you go. That's prompter when you connect it to a DSLR camera. So at this point, you can also do cool things like if you want to, you could actually shoot vertically if you mount your camera to the side like this. And the prompter will, as you can see here, it can kind of slide a little bit. Of course, it's hanging from your camera, right? So you'll want to make sure that, you know, if you lift prompter, it doesn't accidentally fall off. But yeah, you can just have your camera attached. You can have it sideways. You can move it. And one thing to consider is, and especially with a lens like this, you know, there is some weight added by prompter onto the front of your camera. What you can do is, you know, prompter has mount points at the bottom here. There's actually two, one on the frame and one right below the display. you can attach, using something like a flex arm kit, you can attach a basically a support mount to that. So that way, when you mount your camera, you also mount prompter, and it's not putting too much load on the front of the camera and on the front of the lens. Again, this is especially important if you have a camera that has like quite a large lens attached to it, or it's just the mount that you have might not be able to take all the weight, right? If you're using something like a tripod, you're going to be okay. But maybe if you're using a different mount type, it might not be able to support all that weight. And I think my team here might be trying to actually grab a flex arm kit. We'll see if we can get one organized. But that is the way that the DSLR mounts. So those are all the different ways that you can mount a camera. You've got all these different backplates. You've got the Facecam Pro backplate, you've got the ring backplate, and you've got the universal shroud. I did want to cover a couple other features. The last bit is we haven't talked about smartphones. Of course, Prompter is also compatible with smartphones. And what you'll notice on the front of the L bracket is that there are actually different rails. So if we look at the L bracket here in a little bit more detail, you can see there are some front rails here. This is the main rail. This is the one that you're usually going to use. This is the front rail in case you need to get a camera even further up close to Prompter. And then you have the side rails here. And these side rails are important if you want to mount a smartphone. For example, this is an iPhone here. If I want to mount it, I of course need to make sure that the camera elements are in the middle of the L bracket, right? That it's mounted like this. And for that to happen, I'll need something like a smartphone mount, which I have one right here. And that'll be mounted off to the side to make sure that the phone can be held. So I'm actually going to set this up. So what you can do is if you actually move the screw to the back here and then you turn to the left to loosen it, it'll actually come out. And then you can insert into either the left or the right side front rail, like so. Then attach the smartphone grip. Make sure that, and this one you can generally fasten already a little bit more. And then lastly, you can take your phone, and the one thing to make sure is also that the phone, if you're using a mobile phone, is that the lenses are mounted to the bottom of the L bracket, right? You'll want to make sure that they're at the bottom of the L bracket, not the top, like so, because otherwise it might actually catch the frame of the universal shroud. So make sure that the phone is mounted with the lenses at the bottom. And then you can just hold that in there like that. And there you go. Now your smartphone is mounted to the L bracket. You want to center it a little bit. There you go, just like that. And now with the universal shroud, I could attach it back onto Prompter. So quite simple to do. One thing to note is that the Prompter does not come with the smartphone grip, so that will be an additional purchase. But of course, it is ready, and you can attach any smartphone that you want, pretty much, as long as the grip can fit it onto Prompter. So we've gone over quite a bit. We've unboxed Prompter. We've taken a look at the camera compatibility. We've talked a little bit about that. We've talked about the different backplates. And now I actually want to go over some questions, which I'm sure you guys have had in chat. So why don't we go ahead and queue those up. So some of the questions from the unboxing are no protective film on the screen mirror while shipping, or are they removed prior to the stream? So Prompter does not ship with a protective film on the screen or the mirror, but it does come with a protective cloth like this right here, and that is over the entire Prompter, right? At the beginning, I showed that it's covering the entire Prompter, so there's really no chance for it to get scratched or dinged or anything like that. It comes like that from the factory. And then there's also this cardboard that it comes in that protects it. So it's not only got the protective sleeve, but it also comes in this cardboard that is in the exact shape of the Prompter to make sure that it is nice and protected and there's no damage during shipping, transportation, anything like that. Move that off to the side. Can you use your iPhone as a cam? I already went over that. Is the cloth shroud thing washable? Is the universal shroud, the universal backplate washable? That is actually a great question. I don't think you necessarily need to wash it. If you're just, if you set up Prompter and you just kind of, set up your camera, drape it over, you might use something like you might take it off and just kind of dust it out, right? There might be some dust on it, especially if you've got like, I don't know, forced air heating or something like that, or using, like a cooling fan. I don't think you need to wash it though. The other thing is it is attached here to the ring back plate, so you don't want to wash that because this is actually this bit here is plastic, and and it could also come out, so you don't want to do that. So don't wash your universal shroud, and don't wash the microfiber cloth either. You just want to make sure that stays nice and clean. And if it's got a little dust, just kind of, shake it out and it should be okay. Let's see, what are some of the other questions we have here? I've also got, is it actually compatible with Android? Is Prompter compatible with Android? So yes, Prompter is compatible with Android. If you're asking about if you can use an Android phone, then yes, you can do that. I just showed it with an iPhone, but you can mount an Android device as well. If you're talking about actually connecting up Prompter via the USB cable, then yeah, you can do that as well with an Android device. Unfortunately, that doesn't work with iOS. There's simply some differences there in driver and architecture where iOS devices don't work with Prompter. If that changes in the future, we'll make sure it's that Prompter becomes compatible, but that'll require a change on Apple's side. If you have an Android device, you can simply plug in Prompter using a USB-C to C cable, and just make sure that's a USB 3.0 cable. Download what's called the Display Link Manager software, or rather it's an app from the Play Store, and then Prompter will show up as another display, right? And that's really the power of Prompter, is that it can just show up as another display while you're using it. So you're not forced to use your mobile device where all you have on there is your script or something like that. And I'll show you guys what that all looks like in the software in a little bit. Is there a support that goes under it? Because it looks like it put a lot of weight on the camera. Yeah, so this is something that you're going to have to figure out in your setup. So if you're using the, let's see here, if you're using a DSLR with a lens, and then you've got Prompter kind of hanging off on the front of it, like so. Let me get that slotted in here again. Like this, there can be quite a bit of weight at the front. And so what we suggest doing is getting something like our heavy grip or a flex arm kit, and then actually using that and attaching it to the front of Prompter and basically supporting that additional weight. So obviously at the bottom of the camera, right, you've got your 1/4 inch thread. This might go on something like a tripod or a master mount, or which we're using a couple of here, or even a mic arm. This will go on there. And then at the bottom of Prompter, you also have 2 mount points. You've got one right underneath the display, and then you've got one underneath the main assembly here. Both of these can be used, and if you're using them again with a camera, that gives you 2 points. You can do one on the camera, one on the Prompter, and then that way you ensure that there's not too much weight being put on the camera or the Prompter, and it just makes the whole thing more stable. So there are those additional mount points under there. And these are also the main mount points. For example, if you're using it with a webcam or a camera, then we suggest using the main mount point on the assembly here at the bottom. You can also use the one under the display, but again, that puts a little bit, right, you've got your camera, your L bracket off the back, that puts a little bit more weight off the back. So if the mount that you're using isn't able to support that, and you want more equal weight distribution, then you'll want to mount a Prompter in the middle here. And then what is the main use of Prompter? Well, that touches a little bit on software that I'm going to be going over. But I'm actually using a Prompter right now, and I've got some notes written up on it. And you guys are looking at me via Prompter. And so Prompter really has 3 main use cases. The first one is just being an additional display. So Prompter acts as a 3rd display or a 2nd display to your computer. You can put anything on there. You can put videos on there. You can put games on there. If you're presenting, if you've got PowerPoint, you've got Zoom, you can just take those windows and move them right onto Prompter. The second is text mode, and that's actually what I'm using right now. So text mode, you can just type in a script, you can type up notes, and then those can be shown to you at all times. Like right now, I've got notes about all the different steps and all the different things that I want to cover and all the different topics. And then the third one is chat mode. So, in the case of Twitch chat, Prompter can actually show the chat right on the display. And again, I could be looking at the camera. That's really nice for keeping eye contact, because as I'm talking to you guys here, again, I can read the notes, I can see chat, but I'm also looking at the camera at the same time. What I'm not doing is I'm looking off screen, right? Okay, let's see here. I've got, this chat and that chat. I've got, these couple notes, and then coming back and then, looking back over, right? I'm not doing that. I can just look over here, and I know that the next thing we're going to talk about is some of the software that we have for Prompter in Camera Hub. So again, this keeps it, it keeps it more personal. It keeps you're able to keep eye contact as a creator, and it just makes it overall a nicer experience. If you're using it more for work, then again, it's really nice for putting your PowerPoint up there, or Zoom, or your Teams meetings, right? You're able to just drag those up there and again, keep eye contact with your colleagues. If you're presenting something, you can rattle off some numbers where everyone else is going to be really impressed and go, wow, how did they do that? And did they memorize that? Well, no, you had a secret weapon in your pocket, and that was Prompter. Okay, maybe it's not in your pocket, but you get what I mean. And then it's also just a display. So, you know, if you want to move chat up there from a different service that isn't supported yet by our camera up software. So for example, if you're streaming to YouTube, you can just move your chat window onto Prompter. If you've got a video that you want to play up there, you know, some folks use it to keep score. I think I even saw one recent example where someone took a baby monitor or their baby monitor software and they moved it onto Prompter so they can keep an eye on their kid that was sleeping while they were gaming and just using it basically as a third monitor. So that's one of the other uses of Prompter. Did we have any other questions coming in through chat? Or is that it at this point? All right, so I'm getting the thumbs up that we are all good on questions. We'll have another section for questions a little bit later. Let's actually talk about mounting Prompter. So that's one of the things about, I touched on it a little bit and I just showed you one of the areas that you can, but there's a couple different ways to mount Prompter. The first is if you were just to use a tripod, right? So and actually you can see behind me over here, that's Prompter mounted on a tripod. Now that's if you're using it more in a studio use case, like we are actually kind of right now. And it just, again, it mounts, Prompter mounts on the bottom. You've got 2 1/4-inch threaded mounts there, so industry standard mounts, and you can just slot it right on top. While we were actually developing Prompter, one of the really cool use cases that we discovered is that you can mount Prompter onto a mic arm low profile. And so I'm actually going to do that right now. I've got a white mic arm low profile here, and I'm going to move Prompter off to the side. So I've got a mic arm low profile, and what this enables you to do is you can actually have your Prompter kind of off to the side next to your monitor, or even say between 2 monitors, and not have it above and over you too much, right? And so what I'm going to do here is actually I'm going to attach the, this is the bottom, or this is the clamp mount of the mic arm LP. So I'm going to attach it to this desk here, tighten that up, then I'm going to attach mic arm LP like so. And then the last bit, you can see here, this is the screw. The last bit is I can just take Prompter. I don't have a camera on it at the moment, but I can just take Prompter and then attach it to the mic arm LP at the bottom, like this. You can see there I'm just screwing it in. And it looks like I'm going to be handed a master mount as well to demonstrate that. Right, so once you're all set and it's tightened, you can actually use this. The screw won't go in all the way, the 1/4-inch screw, so you can just use the little disc at the bottom to tighten it. There you go. And now I've got Prompter on a mic arm LP. You might need to actually tighten it here a little bit, like, whoop, like that. And then I'm going to have it facing forward like this. And there you go. That's Prompter on a mic arm LP. So what's really nice about this is if I want to use it, you know, I could have it actually face towards me like this, you know, use it, and then when I'm done with it, just kind of push it off and push it out of the way. Right now, imagine your setup, it would be reversed, right? The mic arm would be on the far end of your desk. But this is really cool, again, because you might want to use it. You pull it forward. You use it if you're presenting, if you're streaming, if you're recording a video. And then when you're done, you can kind of just push it off, and it's out of the way. So that's a really, really nice way of mounting Prompter. Of course, the mic arm LP also comes with the cable channels. So when you have the USB cable, you can just route the cable from the camera and from the Prompter directly through these cable channels. And that also makes it really, really tidy and makes sure that your setup looks really clean and organized. And then the other way to mount Prompter, if you're looking for something on your desk that goes behind your monitor, would be the, let me get this off here, would be our master mount. So let me grab that here. And that's actually, there's a really nice bundle, I think, on our website where you can pick up a master mount together with Prompter at the same time. Disconnect this here, move it off to the side. There's so many different pieces and accessories, it's hard to show it all in one broadcast. And the last bit here is going to be master mount. So master mount, of course, comes with a 1/4 inch thread. You can extend it quite high if you want to. So if you've mounted it lower, you've got these 2 extension pieces here. Or you can just, keep it all together and mount it that way. I'll just move this in. There we go. Well, that's nice and satisfying, that little click. And then, of course, the bottom is a clamp mount that mounts to your desk. So this would be mounted maybe to the back of your desk or maybe to the side. And then you just clamp it on there, and then prompter goes right on top. The master mount also comes with cable clips. So if you want to keep your cables nice and organized, these little clips come in the box, and you can simply route your cables along there and keep them neat and tidy. So those are just some of the examples of mounting prompter. There's also other ways as well, but those are really the 3 main ones. You might have a tripod, you might have a master mount or a mic arm LP. Even little travel mounts, if you are more on the go, would work. Or there's other accessories as well, like our flex arm, or even here our heavy clamp. So for example, if you have let's say you have a key light, right? You can have your key light connected to the master mount, which it comes with, and then maybe on the side you actually have your heavy clamp like this that has prompter on it, right? So this way you can have your key light and then your prompter with your camera, and it's basically all connected to one mounting system. So that makes it, again, really clean, really nice, really easy. Or again, if you have, if you're like, let's say you're more on the go and you want to take prompter with you, you can use something like one of these like little travel mounts or like mini tripods and use that. So there are tons of different ways of mounting prompter. And again, where does prompter mount to? Well, you've got 2 options at the bottom. You've got a 1/4 inch thread that is kind of on the main frame or the main assembly, and then a 1/4 inch thread right below the display. So you've got kind of 2 areas. Again, we suggest using the one that's more central to prompter, because again, keep in mind you have a camera on the back, and so by using the more central one, you're kind of evening out the weight. So those are the different ways of mounting prompter. You have a feature to put a dot on the screen where the exact center of the camera is. So that is a feature that we don't have yet on prompter in the Camera Hub software, which I'll go over in a little bit. It's something you can do yourself if you just use a wallpaper and you put a little dot in the center, but it is something that we are looking at adding into our Camera Hub software as well. And then you toggle between those 2 modes when speaking to prompter. You can toggle between the modes. So the 3 different modes, which I'll go over here in just a second, you can actually just toggle between them. So you can go from display, chat, and text, and kind of just move between them as you want to, using, of course, just your mouse and keyboard or Stream Deck. So with all this being said, why don't we actually do that and move over into the software? So I'm going to move some of the stuff over here. These are all the different pieces. And grab my mouse and keyboard. All right. So, and there's actually some questions right there, so why don't I move this away? So this is Camera Hub here. Actually, let's see. This is Camera Hub here, and this is actually the mode that I was using. So this is the text mode here, and you can see on prompter, there's a little picture-in-picture. You can actually see what I was seeing. So I was seeing basically this chat overlaid, and then I was seeing my own camera. In this case, now we're actually seeing the same scene. If I go over to display, I'm actually going to turn that off, so that way we're not getting too much of a streamception here. So there we go. This is what you would normally see on prompter. It's just a display. So now, for example, if I wanted to, I could move something like I could move YouTube up there if I wanted to watch the latest episode of the Flashback podcast, where Chris, Brett, and we actually chat about the prompter release, TwitchCon, and a bunch of other great stuff. I could be watching that off on the side if I wanted to. Then there's also the text mode. So there's some text here, and I'm just going to turn up the opacity. This is what it normally looks like. So I've got a bunch of different options here for managing the text. So for example, if I want to make it a little bit larger, if that's easier to read, if it's further away, or I want to make the margins a little bit larger or smaller, I can do that. Now, margins are important because when you have a camera, you want to and a prompter, you want to make sure that you're not scanning too much, right? Your eyes aren't going left and right. And so with this margin setting, you can actually make sure that your eyes aren't moving, they're not reading the words back and forth too much. Of course, you can also change the color if you want to, right? So if we want to have some different color on there, and then there's also the background as well. So we can change that if that's easier to read. I'll change that back to the defaults though. We'll do some white text here and black there we go, different background. There we go. And then there's also opacity. Now, opacity is a pretty cool setting because with this, I can actually change this overlay from Camera Hub. I can change how much of the background through it is visible. So for example, if I wanted these notes over my actual camera feed, so that way I can see what I'm looking at, then I can just lower the opacity. Or let's say I had the YouTube video up behind there, I can just move that, and I could watch the video while seeing the notes on prompter or the chat. And then below that, you have scrolling settings. So with this text, for example, I can actually go ahead and just hit play on that if I had a video script. I don't have a script in this case, just some notes. And then there's also a scroll speed setting, so I can do that as well. For text itself, we have something called a chapter system. So in here, I can have multiple different chapters, and Camera Hub can automatically advance between those. So for example, if I, maybe I want to talk about, in a script that I'm recording, I want to talk first about the setup, and then I want to talk about, the features of a product or something like that, or let's say I'm presenting, I could set all of those up as different chapters, and then using either my mouse and keyboard or Stream Deck, I can actually jump between those chapters. And this is what it kind of looks like here. So we're expanding the compatibility and the features within these chapters, like rearranging chapters, deleting, all of that stuff. We're adding more features as time goes on. But for now, yeah, you've got this chapter view here. And the last bit is chat mode. So this is actually the mode where prompter, or well, Camera Hub will display the chat of the channel that you have selected right on prompter. So for example, here we've got the Elgato chat. Now, if I want to add a different channel or select a different channel, I can just select that as well. We can see who's live. In this case, it looks like, is that pulling up? Let me go ahead and remove that. Actually, we'll remove all of these. And the way it works is I can just simply add a Twitch channel. Let's go Elgato. There we go. Nope. Looks like my keyboard is not connecting. Elgato, there we go. Yep, and I'll hit add, and it'll connect. And then now, when you guys type chat messages, if you're watching, there we go. Sir Crest says contributing in chat so that it shows up on screen. Perfect. There we go. So yeah, chat is showing up now. I can see it, whatever you guys are typing. Hi, Mom, hugs, not a real live show if it doesn't have bugs. Absolutely, right? It wouldn't be live if there wasn't some sort of a technical issue. So yeah, that's how the chat mode works. And again, you have all the same options, right? If I want to make the font size a little bit bigger, or for example, if I just want to read chat, I don't want to see I don't want to see the background, I can set the opacity to 100%. I can make the margin size a little bit less. There we go. And again, what you guys are seeing in the picture-in-picture is exactly what I'm seeing. So yes, you actually see yourself live right now. And you can also enter different channels. So let's say that, this is of course the Elgato account, but I could also enter my personal account on here and switch between those. And I could even add, maybe my favorite streamer if I just want to keep an eye on their chat and kind of see what's going on or see when they're live. I can do that as well. All of this is, of course, also controllable with Stream Deck. So if I wanted to, for example, switch between the different chat modes or even scroll, I can do that in Stream Deck. So for example, I've got a Stream Deck Plus set up here. And if I want to scroll between the different chapters here or just the text, I can do that. So let's say that I am recording a video script and I mess up and I need to go back. Then I can just go back here, tap on it, and then it'll start scrolling again. And I can press on the dial to stop it, maybe adjust it again. Okay, I messed up, with me is Jasmine, who will be queuing up questions. If I mess that up, then I can just pause it, go back. All right, let's do another take there, right? So it makes that super easy. And of course, that then also works with Stream Deck Pedal. So you can kind of move up and down in text or in these chapters. And especially if you're in a live scenario, and you even want to move chat, you can do that as well, right? So if I go to chat here and you have some messages, you can see I can actually go up and down in chat as well. And let's say there was a message that was really long there. I think that first one, something about contributing on screen, I can go back. What was that? Oh, there it is. And then I can go back to, the live chat as well. So it's got some really powerful Stream Deck functionality there, and it's really incredible to set up. And yeah, so why don't we take some of more questions from chat on prompter and some of the functionality here. And I'll actually, let's see, we can switch back to the front for now, and then I might need, let's see, we'll just use the questions from the chat here. So yeah, go ahead and feel free to ask. I can actually see them up on prompter right now. Is it just a Stream Deck XL base with a display? That would be the Stream Deck Plus. And no, it's not just a Stream Deck XL. The Stream Deck Plus has 4 dials, a touch strip that corresponds with each dial and shows what's going on, and then 8 keys. And okay, so here's a question. Why did we make a prompter? That is actually a great question. During the pandemic, it became really, really evident as we were all kind of, remote, at home, locked away, we weren't supposed to see each other, that, having that kind of connection while online is quite difficult. And one of the ways that it's most expressed is when everyone's just kind of looking down, right? We were all maybe in meetings or we were in a classroom, something like that, and we're just looking down, looking, at our display while everyone else was, seeing through the camera. And that creates a kind of like almost like an apersonal, right? It just doesn't feel great when you're talking with everyone else and no one's actually looking at you, no one's having a real conversation with you. And so that was one of the things that we thought about with Prompto is we can actually kind of bring that back by just letting you look at the camera while also having that, interaction and still, seeing the other person. The other part was reading Twitch chat, right? Or just really any chat for any live service, like I'm doing right here, right now. I can be live, I can present to you guys, I can talk to you guys, and I can see the chat at the same time. And so that just creates a much nicer, live environment. I can talk to you, the audience, and I'm talking really with you. I'm not kind of, again, oh, that's a really interesting question. All right, let me look back at the camera, and then, oh, that's really cool. And then, right, that's, it's not really great. And so this creates just a really nice flow. And yeah, so those are kind of the 2 primary reasons that we made Prompter. Let's see, can you add YouTube chat as well? Absolutely, you can add YouTube chat. So the way that works is you basically just set Prompter to its display mode, and then from there you just pop out the YouTube chat and drag it over. YouTube chat isn't supported yet in Camera Hub, though that is something that we're looking at. We've launched right now with just Twitch, and we're going to be adding more chat services in the near future. Let's see how many different size rings come with Prompter. There are 9 step-up rings. They range from, 47 or 42 millimeter up to 80 something. Don't quote me on that. There we go. Elgato in chat has the answer. Those are the different sizes. So if you have a lens, just make sure that that it fits, that the lens size, that the threading fits with one of those step-up rings. Yeah, it's great for VTubing, exactly. If you have a lot of different programs, at least this way you can always just keep chat up on there. Or again, if you just want to throw different chats up onto Prompter, you can do that as well. Yeah. And you have multiple prompters? Yes, you can have multiple prompters. In fact, yeah, you can have multiple connected. They all just show up as different displays. So if you want to have, different camera angles that you're looking at, if you're on more of an actual production, if you have a set, if you're doing more of a professional shoot, then you can have multiple prompters. Yep. If I have a lens that isn't one of those rings, how would you solve that? You could probably, not from us, but there are probably other essentially step up or step down in that case rings that you can get. You basically might be able to tie those together. Again, the ones that come with Prompter are specifically for, or the ones that come with Prompter are specifically for Prompter. So you would almost need like an intermediate step up ring, right? So let's say you wanted to go from, I don't know, 30 millimeters, right, which Prompter doesn't include, up to 42, which is the smallest one that Prompter includes, then you might need something like 30 to 42. Does that exist out there? I'm not really sure though, but you might be able to find something out there. Is there a plan to roll out bigger prompters? We just launched Prompter. We're gonna let this one, sit a little bit and see how that goes. but we've heard the feedback about Prompter. You know, we were just at TwitchCon, and we did hear a lot of feedback about bigger Prompter. So, man. The max resolution of the display. So the display max resolution is going to be 1024 by 600. That's it. Yeah. 1024 by 600. And it looks like there's a question about the display and how does that work. So the display works by simply connecting a USB cable to your computer. So there's a USB port on the back of Prompter. You just plug in the USB cable that comes with Prompter. You can also supply your own cable. The one that comes with Prompter is a C to Type A, or rather a Type A to Type C cable, and it's got that 90-degree bend on it. You can also use a Type C to C cable if you want to. And then you just plug that into your computer. Now, if you're on Windows, Prompter will be automatically detected as just another display, and you're good to go. You don't necessarily need to install a Camera Hub. On Mac, you do need to install Camera Hub because Camera Hub also installs the driver that drives Prompter and that enables you to use it. One really cool thing, though, about using Prompter on Mac, especially specifically the M1 or basically the Apple Silicon Macs, is that those Macs, if you are using like a baseline M1, M2, M3, they only support one external display. Prompter does not count as that. So let's say you connect Prompter, you can have, you know, basically your laptop display, an HDMI display, and Prompter, right? It doesn't count towards that like limit. I think if you're on the Pro or the Max chips, right, those can connect 2 displays. So then Prompter could be a 3rd display to that. So again, for Mac, it's really nice because again, it doesn't count towards that display limit. That even works if you have like multiple prompters. If you have like 2 or 3, yeah, you can connect those all up to a Mac, and those will just work just fine. So let's see. There was another question about the glass and how does that work, right? So this is beam splitting glass, and actually, I don't know if you can see it at the moment, but it'll actually look through. The camera looks through the glass here, and what you'll notice is that if I turn it around, it's actually reflecting back off of the front. So this is 70/30 beam splitting glass, and essentially, what that means is that 70% of the or basically the light is reflected. There's like a certain reflectivity, right? It's not 100% reflected, but essentially light that hits the front coming up from the display is reflected off of the front of the prompter's glass. And so that's what I see, right? That's what you see, that's what I see. But the light does not go in, and essentially the camera doesn't see it, right? And the camera's just looking through Prompter and, you know, then sees you or sees whatever the camera's looking at. And so kind of that's how that works. It's a little bit like if you think about, if you've ever watched a TV show where there's a police interrogation, you know, they have those one-way mirrors where, you know, there's maybe a person in an interrogation room and someone's looking in from the outside. It's a little bit like that, just not as intense, right? In those, you really can't see anything at all. With Prompter, you can see through just a little bit. Is the connection USB or HDMI? It's going to be USB. And then I saw a question around the chat mode again. So yeah, I think we can jump over to that. Let's see. I've got it set up here. So yeah, this is what chat looks like again, right? You can see there. This is the Camera Hub software that I've got up. We've got the Elgato account added. And you can see I see the chat that is actually coming through. I can adjust the size if I want to. For example, if I'm further away, I can make it larger. I can make it smaller. You might be able to see yourself actually at the moment. You can adjust the margin, the text, all of that. Here's also the other modes again. So this is the text mode. So for example, if I want to scroll here, I can actually do that. Again, I can scroll down. I've made some notes here, right? And then there's also just display mode. So this is if I want to move a window on there. I could take something like maybe a YouTube video, or maybe a game, or it could be, you know, maybe it's YouTube chat, right? Because I'm actually live streaming to YouTube. I can move those right onto there. You've got Microsoft Teams, right? You can move that on there. You've got PowerPoint if you're doing a presentation. All of that can be moved right onto Prompter's display. So that is how that works. All right. How are we looking on time? Okay, so I think we've gone through quite a few questions. We've gone through all the different ways that, cameras work with prompter, how you mount cameras to prompter, how prompter is mounted. I wanted to do say one more thing about camera compatibility. Um, there are a lot of cameras out there, and we have a website where you can actually check what cameras are compatible with prompter. And on the site, there's a couple different criteria that we rank cameras by. The first, and of course the most important, is just does it mount a prompter? Basically, does it use the universal shroud? Will that mount? Maybe it uses the Facecam Pro backplate, or does it use the ring backplate? The second most important thing that we rate it by is, does the camera catch the frame of prompter? You know, what we pride ourselves in is that prompter can be used with a large amount of cameras that actually don't have, or that where basically the field of view can be really big, and the prompter won't show up, right? The frame won't show up in prompter. But if you're using a lens that is ultra wide, you might catch the frame. That's not really great, right? Because then you have to either zoom in or you have to digitally zoom in. And so we are going to basically rate cameras differently depending on how much you have to zoom in. For example, if you have to digitally zoom in to make sure that it looks okay, that's not really great, right? You want it to just work out of the box. And so we might give that a lower rating. If you don't have to do anything, you basically just connect your camera and you're good to go, then we give that a green, basically a green check mark or a green rating. If the camera doesn't work at all, then we're going to give it a red rating. Like I said, though, earlier, there's a ton of cameras and a ton of lenses out there. We can't cover all of those. And so a lot of that list is cameras that we've tested ourselves, but there's also cameras on that list that we've gotten feedback from the community. And that list is always growing. So if you have a prompter and you check it and, there's a camera on there that we haven't tested yet, and you have a lens that we haven't tested yet or whatever, you can let us know. Also, if you see a camera or if you don't see a camera on there, but you have one, don't fret. Do some research online. In most cases, it'll work, but that list is not like the end-all be-all, right? Like, I don't think we have the iPhone 15 and 15 Pro on there. Of course, those do work with prompter, if you connect them using an phone mount. They're just not on the list yet because we haven't gotten around to updating it. So, yeah, that's a quick note on that. 3D printing mounts, that's another great question. So yes, you can 3D print your own mounts for prompter if you want to. So if you want to, instead of using like the universal shroud, you want to do a custom, same with like the Facecam Pro mount, if you want to do a custom mount, you can absolutely do that, yeah. And we're going to be releasing, we haven't yet, but we are going to be releasing the 3D files for that, so you'll have a base structure to work with, yeah. All right, and then let's see. I had some questions queued up, but I can't see them anymore. And so let's see. I'll do some more from chat, and then I think we're coming up on just about our hour. Oh, there we go. They're back. Okay. Let's see. These are off to the side. These are actually questions pulled from somewhere else. When shooting with a DSLR or mirrorless, does the prompter affect light input? Would I need to adjust the ISO f-stop? Yes, prompter will, obviously there's some, there's the reflectivity of the glass and there's the glass itself. So yes, there will be a slight impact on the brightness, but in a lot of cases, it's actually going to be like not really noticeable. And if it is noticeable, we'll simply bump up the ISO a little bit, right? I mean, you are putting something in front of the lens, so you'll just need to do that. And then let's see, can you connect to USB hubs? You can connect prompter to a USB hub. We don't recommend it. We do recommend connecting prompter directly to your computer, just using a USB, again, A or C port. If you need to use a hub, again, you can. If you start noticing weird things like, I don't know, the prompter every now and then turning off, or maybe it's stuttery or something like that, you might want to try rearranging your USB devices because, prompter, in the end, it's a video device, so it is pulling some data, yeah. Let's see. Can you show what prompter looks like with smaller text for Twitch chat, or what the smallest font size will be? Yes. Let me move over here again. We'll move the questions off to the side. So I've got the chat mode here, and I can just simply set the font size to really small. At this point, I can't read it anymore, or I can, but I have to lean forward and kind of scrunch and really, look for it. If you're sitting really close to prompter, you might be able to use this. I don't think many folks will though, but yeah, 10 point is the smallest. The largest is 100, so you can have about 3 words or 4 words on prompter. So again, completely customizable and completely adaptable to what you're going to be using it for. And then let me set it back here to something. There we go. All right. We don't have a specific stop difference measurement. Yeah, no, we don't have a specific measurement. Again, it's going to vary a little bit by again your setup, right? How much room light you have. In my case, I'm very well lit from the front. I've got a lot of lights, so the cameras aren't going to be impacted that much. If you're working in a darker environment, it might be more noticeable when you attach prompter to the front. So, yeah. I saw another great question. Does chat show emotes? Chat does show emotes, yes. So we have support for a couple of the different popular, also third-party emote services out there, like FrankerFace Z and then Better TTV. We're also going to be adding more in the future, so those emotes will show up. The other thing that we're working on is showing badges. So for example, like a sub badge, right? If you're subscribed, or any of the other badge types that are out there is also something that we're working on. Will creators be able to create features for prompter on Marketplace? That's a great question. We don't really have anything to share around that just yet, so stay tuned. And then will you bring out good Linux support? Linux is always a little bit of a, in our community is a little bit of a hot topic. We don't really have plans at the moment to bring Linux support to prompter simply because, most people that are using prompter are going to be on Mac or Windows, and it's simply a question of resources for us. With all the different distros out there, it can be quite difficult to make sure that prompter is working correctly and that everything works as expected, etc. It would need driver support and all of that. And so at this point, yeah, we don't have any plans on bringing prompter support to Linux. All right, everybody. I think that is the last question that we have. So, we actually have one more. I'm being told there's one more. Let's see. Will there be a bigger Stream Deck in the future? That's not a question, but I do see that in chat. Maybe. Can't answer that here. All right. How does it integrate with all of your products? Well, I demoed a little bit earlier how Prompter integrates with Stream Deck, right? So basically, in Camera Hub in our software, you can control all the various different features, like the chat control, right? Or even here, I can move the chat using a Stream Deck Plus. You can do all of that with Stream Deck. And then it's also integrated by virtue of our custom, the backplate here, right? So this is the Facecam Pro backplate, and Facecam Pro slots really neatly into it. And this comes with prompter, right? So I've got the backplate here. I can simply, I'll do right side up. Facecam Pro just slots right into there like that. And this attaches to the back of prompter. And so this is one of the things that, has been really, really nice. There's also all of the compatibility with all of the different mounting solutions that we have, right? Between our FlexArm kit and our master mount, our mic arm LP, right? It all kind of works together. So we've really made sure that prompter works with all of your different Elgato products, your Facecam Pro, all of your different mounts, and the software as well. All right, so I think that did it for the questions. So I want to thank you all for joining us today and joining me today and checking out Prompter. And I think we'll leave it there. If you have any more questions, you can reach us on any of our social medias. We're on X, we're on Discord, we're on Reddit. Yeah, and other than that, I don't know. Did the team have anything else they wanted me to say? Are we doing any fancy giveaways or anything like that? No, not this time? Okay, maybe next time. We do, weekly live streams, so make sure you stick around for those. With that being said, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.